हेलो इग्नू पॉइंट्स, कैसे आप सब। आई होप आप सब अच्छे होंगे। तो आज का हमारा एक्सप्लेनेशन वीडियो है BANC-131 एंथ्रोपोलॉजी एंड रिसर्च मेथड। There are 3 assignments. All questions are compulsory. So actually there is a 3 parts: assignment 1, assignment 2 and assignment 3. So let's get started. In assignment 1, answer the following in about 500 words each. Question 1. Define anthropology and discuss its scope briefly. The word anthropology has been derived from 2 Greek words, anthropos, man, and logos, study or science. Anthropology is thus the science of man. This etymological meaning, of course, is too broad and general. More precisely, anthropology may be called the science of man and his work and behavior. Anthropologists are interested in all aspects of the human species and human behavior in all places and at all time, from the origin and evolution of the species through its prehistoric civilizations down to the present situation. Scope of physical anthropology. Human biology. The physical anthropologist studies human biology as he is interested in Homo sapiens alone. He studied man out of the vast range of creatures that claim the attention of the general biologists. Therefore, there is a close relationship between the physical anthropology and the study of other living beings. The physical anthropologists tell about the man's place in the animal kingdom by making a comparative study on the different groups of man and his near relations like apes, monkey, etc., whom we call primates. Human evolution. Another object of physical anthropology is to deal with human evolution. Like other creatures, man is also a living organism. It is difficult to explain under what condition life had appeared on earth, but from the geological and paleontological evidence, it has been known that the first living organism that had appeared on earth consisted of one cell only, which is known as a unicellular organism or amoeba. In course of time, this simple homogeneous organism, through the process of changes, attained the heterogeneous form at various stages. Ultimately, a complex form of animal called man had emerged. All living form of humanity today belong to the single genus and species of Homo sapiens. Man is said to have emerged during the Quaternary epoch of Cenozoic era. As time elapsed, variety of man had evolved from the date of his origin. Human variation. The physical anthropologist, after having studied the origin, development, and place of evolution of man, focuses his attention on the study of the different varieties of man. Outwardly, through they appear different, all men have some common characteristics and belong to the species Homo sapiens. However, it is generally found that the common heredity does not resemble those of other groups in various ways. Each of these groups is designated as race. So, in physical anthropology, the different aspects of race are studied. Somotology, somotoscopic observation, and anthropometry is useful for this purpose. Human genetics. The methodology of physical anthropology has now been changed. The day of descriptive stage are gone and the analytical stage has taken its place. The classical physical anthropology was mainly interested in the classification and not in the interpretations. For example, a black native African has platyrine nose, whereas the European has the leptorine nose. Previously, it was not interpreted why these two groups of people had different types of nose. Now, explanations are being put forward why they have different type of nose. Scope of cultural anthropology. There are almost as many definitions of culture as there are scholars. In order to understand culture, one must know the steps by which mankind has transformed itself from an instinct-dominated anthropoid into a cultural adaptive human being. Cultural anthropology deals with learned behavior, characteristics of the past, present, and future of human societies. Now, the main fields of studies under cultural anthropology are prehistoric archaeology and ethnology and linguistics under anthropology, again economic anthropology, social anthropology, ethnography, religion, art, musicology, recreation, folklore, etc. study. Prehistoric anthropology. It is now a specialized branch of cultural anthropology. The prehistorian, with their pick and shovel, has been contributing much to get the first hand knowledge about the extinct peoples and their cultures and the past phases of living peoples. They enlighten us with how the prehistoric peoples coped with the natural setting by making tools and implements, weapons, and other necessary equipments in order to serve their biological and physiological needs, such as food, clothing, art, etc. Prehistoric anthropology has also been helpful in finding out the sequence of culture and dating the past by adopting the various methods such as stratigraphy, radiocarbon methods, etc. Paleontology. There is another scientific discipline called paleontology, which is closely associated with prehistoric and helpful to make a study on the extinct races from their fossilized forms. It tells us how the modern races has evolved from those extinct fossil races. Ethnology. Ethnology is another field of study under cultural anthropology. It made its appearance as a recognized branch in about 1840 and it's developed very greatly during the next 100 years. It makes a comparative study of the cultural of the world and emphasizes the theory of culture. It is often called cultural anthropology and sometimes used as synonyms for anthropology also. Ethnography. Ethnological studies are essential for us cultural anthropologists to know the links between the different cultures and the principles guiding the socio-cultural system. Ethnology includes in its fold economic anthropology, social anthropology, religion, art, musicology, and recreation, folklore, etc. As a matter of fact, ethnology interprets the fact on data collected through ethnographic studies, classifies them, and formulates principles with regard to the nature of human behavior and the evolution and functioning of culture. Next question. Discuss the history of fieldwork and criticism of armchair anthropology. History of fieldwork. Field research has a long history. Cultural anthropologists have long used field research to study other cultures. Although the cultures do not have to be different, this has often been the case in the past with the study of so-called primitive culture, and even in sociology the cultural difference have been one of class. The work is done in fields that is circumscribed areas of study which have been the subject of social research field could be education, industrial setting, or Amazonian rainforest. Field research may be conducted by ethologists such as Jane Goodall, Alfred Radcliffe Brown, and Bronislaw Malinowski were early anthropologists who set the model for future work. Field research has a long history. Cultural anthropologists have long used field research to study other cultures, although the cultures do not have to be different. This has often been the case in the past with the study of so-called primitive culture, and even in sociology the cultural difference have been one of class. The work is done in field that is circumscribed areas of study which have been the subject of social research field could be education, industrial settings, or Amazonian rainforest. Field research may be conducted by anthropologists such as Jane Goodall, Alfred Radcliffe Brown, and Bronislaw Malinowski were early anthropologists who set the model for future work. The reckoning of field work within the discipline of anthropology came with the famous Cambridge anthropological expedition in the Torres Strait Island in the Pacific, Australia, that went up to New Guinea and Borneo in 1898. The team was led by Alfred Haddon, who started his career as a biologist and finally moved on to the anthropology and ethnology. W.H.R. Rivers, William M.C. Dougal, C.S. Mayer, Sidney H. Ray, Anthony Wilkin, and C.G. Seligman were the scholars who made the team. The aim of expedition was to record the societies and their belief structures. Armchair anthropology involves creating theories without any fieldwork. Some examples of famous armchair anthropologists include Edward Burnett Taylor and James Frazer. The work of both theorists involved no traveling and conducting of fieldwork. Early anthropology focused on primitive culture and how societies transformed from being barbaric to civilized in modern days. Anthropology is discovering new topics to study every day, and the information release a great amount on fieldwork and lab work conducted by anthropologists to support their finding. As some of the early methods of anthropology continue to be used by anthropology, more are being developed in order to produce more efficient research and theories. Armchair anthropologists conclude their research by studying an artifact and not conducting the proper research required. Assignment 2. Answer the following question in about 250 words each. They discuss the current fields of social anthropology. The term social anthropology is generally used in Great Britain and other Commonwealth countries with support from Professor Claude Lévi-Strauss. The term is also extensively used in France, Netherlands, and the Scandinavian countries. Social anthropology refers to the different meaning in the countries like USA, England, and the other countries of European continents. So we often see a diverse nature referred by the term social anthropology in different countries. In Great Britain, anthropology refers to physical anthropology, which studies biological aspect of man. In England, social anthropology is understood as ethnology or sociology, and in other countries of the European continent. In short, in Europe itself, social anthropology has two different meanings. According to Erickson, social anthropology studies small-scale society, non-industrial society, small and larger issues of the society. With the advent of social anthropology, study of the primitive society, various theoretical frameworks emerged. Morgan proposed the study of evolution in human society and put forth the evolutionary theory. He asserted the human society has progressed through three fundamental phases: savagery, barbarism, and civilization. Social anthropologists began analyzing human society in the context of evolution using such an evolutionary method. In Britain, the structural functionalism school of thought gained popularity. The phrase social anthropology was coined by British anthropologists who place focus on the idea of society, which they define as an aggregate of people who interact face to face and have similar beliefs. Their research focused on the various social interaction and interrelationships. The functional analysis of social institution was introduced by functionalism. American anthropologists, on the other hand, prefer the term cultural anthropology, and they have focused on the idea of culture, which is totally of human activity, whether verbal or non-verbal, and their result, whether material or immaterial. Cultural anthropologists attempt to evaluate the worth of each intervention and in relationship in order to analyze it. Although anthropologists have been aware of term civilization since the postulation of evolutionary theory, Robert Redfield's groundbreaking work is what gave social anthropology a boost by establishing the study of civilization. He studied rural communities and metropolitan areas in an effort to confront the pattern and mechanism underlying interaction between them. He created the concept of the folk-urban continuum, urban society and urban society as a result. Since then, research into town as the hub of urban civilization and villages as a subset of rural civilization has been conducted. As a result, anthropology is more than only the study of primitive people. The field of social anthropology has a broad scope. No society or culture is impervious to change, regardless of the circumstances. Primitive and isolated communities undergo change throughout time. Next question, briefly discuss branches of physical biological anthropology. Physical anthropology, also known as biological anthropology, takes into account human body, genetics, and the states of man among living beings. This branch of anthropology is mainly focused on human evolution, variation, and adaptation. As the name indicates, it studies the physical characteristics of man using the general principle of biology and utilize the findings of anatomy, physiology, embryology, zoology, paleontology, and so on. Primatology. In the scientific study of primate group of mammals, man, the central figure of anthropological study, belongs to the order primates of animal kingdom. The primates, starting from the smallest rat like microcebus to the largest huge bodies gorilla, in their various stages of development, show different life patterns. The integrated study of the primates in the background of physical anthropology gives an intrinsic value to understand the position of man. Ethnology. It is the study of human diversities. All the living men in the world are categorized into different groups broadly known as races. These are now understood as the Mendelian populations, an inbreeding group of humanity sharing a common gene pool. It also attempts to explain the nature, formation, and differentiation of the racial groups. Human biology. It deals with the concrete biological principle and concepts of man. It is different from the biology of other animals because of the impact of cultural achievements. It is highly influenced by cultural as well. Culture sometimes remodel biological phenomena. Physical anthropology's attempt to understand this biological feature of man and their successive development, changes in structure and function through time. Paleoanthropology. It is the branch of physical anthropology which deals with the documentation of biological history of mankind. They work on fossils, evidence collected from the different layers of the earth. It also attempts to reconstruct the link between the human and non-human traits that had so long been lost. They evaluate the fossil remains found from different sites and establish their status and evolutionary significance. Human genetics, nutritional anthropology, medical anthropology, physiological anthropology. Describe the development of prehistoric research. Phase 1. During this period, a large number of individuals participated in discovering prehistoric remains. In September 1863, Foote reported his finding of stone tools from Atirampakkam, and a few of them were in situ. Next year, he reported another cave of paleoliths from Pallavaram, where were also tea or lamb found similar tools in situ. Foote's collections were displayed in an exhibition at the Asiatic Society of Bengal in 1864. In the same year and the following, several discoveries of Stone Age tools were reported by J.D. Sweeney, D. W. Theobald, W. King, Mr. Cornes, Fraser, Robinson, and V. Ball from Jabalpur, Madras, Bengal, and Myanmar. Phase 2. This phase was prehistoric research in India, is marked by synthesizing efforts, participation of several institutions, as well as effort towards paleo-environmental reconstruction. A large number of Indian scholars participated in prehistoric research in this period. One of the earliest synthesizing efforts can be found in the article of V. A. Smith in 1923. P. Mitra published his book called Prehistoric India. In 1831, H. C. Dasgupta published a bibliography of prehistoric antiquities. In 1930, L. A. Kamed and M. C. Burkitt published their studies on prehistoric antiquities from the Nalla-Malai hills of Andhra Pradesh based upon their relative position in river stratigraphy. Kamed and Burkitt divides their collection of stone tools into 4 series of corresponding to lower, middle, and upper Paleolithic and Mesolithic respectively. This phase witnessed many important development of Indian prehistoric studies. Next assignment, third, answer the following question in about 100 words each. Type of research design. A researchers must be well versed in different types of research design. Moreover, a clear understanding of different research designs help choose the proper techniques for the research. Research design is broadly divided into quantitative and qualitative research design. We will walk you through them in details below. Quantitative research design. design. Quantitative research design aims at finding answer to who, what, where, how, and when through the course of research. Moreover, the outcome of the quantitative analysis is easy to represent in the form of statistics, graphs, charts, and numbers. Qualitative research design focus on finding answer to how and when. Why? It uses open-ended questions and helps the subjects express their views clearly. Qualitative research is ideal for business that aim to understand customers' behavior and requirement. You must further break the types of research design into 5 categories: experimental design, correlation design, descriptive design, diagnostic design, or explanatory design. Observation. In sociological research, observation refers to the method in which researchers study the ongoing behavior of the participants. This is different from techniques such as interviews or questionnaires, because observation are a study of what subjects to do instead of what they see. Observation is a primary research method. Primary research involves personally collecting the data or information being studied. This is the opposite of the secondary research method, where researchers choose to study data that has already been collected before their study begins. There are several types of observational methods used across many social science disciplines. They are each suited to different research purposes and have different strengths and limitations. It is important to note that observational methods can be covert and overt. In covert research, the research participants don't know who the researcher is or that there even a researcher there at all. In overt research, the research participants are all aware of the researcher's presence and their role as an observer. Applying anthropology to solve life problems. Applied anthropology is the practical application of anthropological theories, methods, and practices to the analysis and solutions of practical problems. The process of conducting anthropological research and then applying knowledge is an attempt to improve the lives of research participants can be problematic and is often dealt with elements of Orientalism and or colonialism. Kedia and Van Willigen describe the moral dilemma embedded in the work. The ethical requirement of applied anthropology are especially challenging since the practitioner must negotiate an intricate balance between the interest of the client who commissioned the work and those of the community being studied. The authors continue by stating that this negotiation leads to issue of privacy, ownership, and the implications and purpose of the study being produced. Applied anthropology is simply anthropology puts to use. It is any kind of anthropological research that is done to solve practical problems. This means that there are stakeholders and clients who stand to gain or lose from the project. Anthropology can be used to solve problems in an enormous variety of fields. Here are some common examples: health and medicine, business, human rights, education, environmental issues, community development, museum, disaster research and management, international development. Serology. Serology is the scientific study of serum and other body fluids. In practice, the term usually refers to the diagnostic identification of antibodies in the serum. Such antibodies are typically formed in response to an infection against other foreign proteins or to one's own proteins. In either case, the procedure is simple. Serology is the scientific study of serum and other body fluids. In practice, the term usually refers to the diagnostic identification of antibodies in the serum. Such antibodies are typically formed in response to an infection against other foreign protein or to one's own protein. In either case, the procedure is simple. Excavation. An excavation is a man-made cut, cavity and trench in an earth surface that is formed by earth removal. Or we can say that excavation is the process of removing earth, rock or other material with tools, equipments or explosives. Excavation includes earthwork, trenching, vaults, shaft, tunneling and undergrounds. Excavation is used in construction to create building foundations, reservoirs and roads. Without excavation, an area of new construction cannot be safely built on the site, and it is also used for geotechnical purpose. It is the simplest form. We can say that excavation is any opening or depression in the earth's surface. Permits to work is required for all excavation and trenches more than 1.2 meters deep. Excavation is the most hazardous construction operation. There are two methods of excavation: manual excavation and mechanical excavation. Amic and Attic approach. Amic approach is an insider's perspective which looks at the belief, values, and practices of a particular culture from the perspective of the people who live within the culture. This approach aims to understand and cultural meaning and significance of a particular behavior or practice as it is understood by the people who engage in it. The Attic approach, on the other hand, is an outsider perspective which looks at the cultural form, the perspective of an outside observer or researcher. This approach tends to focus on the observable behavior and practices of a culture and aims to understand them in terms of their functional or evolutionary significance. The Attic approach often involves the use of standardized measures and framework to compare different cultures and may involve the use of concepts and theory from other disciplines such as physiology and sociology. such as psychology and sociology. तो यहाँ हमारा असाइनमेंट ख़त्म होता है. अगर आपको कोई भी इशू हो, कोई भी प्रॉब्लम हो या आपको इसका PDF चाहिए हो तो आप हमारे व्हाट्सएप पे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं, विच इज़ गिवन इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स. थैंक यू.